The warning lights flashed red across the control panel of Tom Walker's salvage ship. He rubbed his tired eyes, trying to focus on the readings. 3 months alone in deep space made every day feel the same. But today was different. His ship's sensors had picked up something unusual floating among the space debris. "Computer, zoom in on Sector 7, he said, leaning forward in his worn pilot's chair. The main screen showed a closer view of what looked like a damaged escape pod. It was unlike anything he had seen before. Sleek, with curves that seemed to flow like water frozen in space. The computer's mechanical voice filled the cabin. "Warning. Unknown vessel design. No match in database. Salvage rights cannot be confirmed." Tom smiled. Unknown meant valuable, and valuable meant he might finally pay off his ship's debt. "Run life scans," he ordered, already reaching for his spacesuit hung by the airlock. "Warning. Unusual biological signature detected. Quarantine protocols recommend." "Override quarantine protocols," Tom interrupted. "Authorization Walker 1. He knew it was risky, but something about this pod felt important. If someone was alive in there, they didn't have time for protocols. The spacesuit sealed around him with familiar clicks and hisses. Tom moved through the airlock and pushed off into space, his jetpack guiding him toward the pod. Up close, the damage looked worse. Something had hit it hard, leaving twisted metal and dark scorch marks across its surface. "Computer, find me an entry point," he said through his suit's comm. A heads-up display appeared on his helmet visor, highlighting a manual release panel. Tom pulled himself closer and attached a magnetic anchor to the pod's hull. The panel resisted at first, then gave way with a crack. Inside, emergency lights cast a soft blue glow over the pod's single occupant. Tom's breath caught in his throat. A woman lay strapped in the pilot's seat, unconscious but alive according to his suit's sensors. Her skin had markings that seemed to shimmer, like circuits made of starlight. "Computer, scan for contaminants or hazards," he said, already working to free her from the restraints. "Warning. Unknown biological markers present. Quarantine protocols strongly. Is there any immediate danger to her or me?" A pause. "Negative. But salvage regulations strictly prohibit." "Then help me get her aboard," Tom said firmly. He carefully lifted the woman into his arms. Her skin was cool but not cold. She was alive, but barely. The pod's life support must have been failing. Getting back to his ship while carrying her was tricky, but Tom had years of experience moving in zero gravity. Inside the airlock, he waited impatiently through the decontamination cycle, holding her steady as the chamber pressurized. The computer's voice seemed more insistent now. "Warning. Bringing unknown life forms aboard voids salvage license and insurance. Recommend immediate." "Override all warnings," Tom snapped. "Medical bay status. Medical bay prepared, but regulations require. Just help me save her life. We'll worry about regulations later." Tom carried the woman to the medical bay, placing her gently on the examination bed. The ship's scanners hummed as they assessed her condition. The strange markings on her skin pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat made of light. "Patient stable but requires immediate treatment," the computer reported. "Warning. Cellular structure shows significant anomalies. Standard human medical protocols may not." "Give me your best guess," Tom said, already grabbing supplies. "And keep scanning that pod for any clue about who she is or where she came from." As he worked to stabilize the mysterious woman, Tom knew he had just risked everything. His license, his ship, maybe even his freedom. If she was running from something, helping her could bring trouble. But looking at her peaceful face, the strange, beautiful markings on her skin, he knew he'd made the right choice. The salvage operator had no way of knowing he had just rescued the one person who could change the fate of 2 civilizations. All he knew was that someone needed help, and out here in the darkness of space, that was reason enough. 3 days passed before the mysterious woman opened her eyes. Tom had barely slept, splitting his time between watching over her and keeping his salvage ship running. He was checking her vital signs for the 100th time when her eyes fluttered open. Eyes that seemed to shift color like the surface of a soap bubble. "You're safe," Tom said quickly, keeping his voice soft. "I found your escape pod. You're aboard my salvage ship." The woman looked around the medical bay, her movements graceful despite her weakness. The markings on her skin pulsed with a gentle blue light. When she spoke, her voice was musical but uncertain. I don't remember how I got here." "I'm Tom Walker," he said, offering her some water. "Can you tell me your name?" She took a slow sip, her hands trembling slightly. "Rose," she said after a long pause. Yes, my name is Rose." But something in her voice suggested she wasn't quite sure. The ship's computer interrupted. "Warning. 3 unregistered vessels detected at long range. Course suggests systematic search pattern." Tom moved to check the sensors. The ships were big, much bigger than normal patrol vessels. Their energy signatures were off the charts. "Are they looking for you?" he asked Rose. She pressed her hands to her temples. "I don't. Everything's foggy. I remember running, but I don't remember why." The markings on her skin flickered with a worried purple color. Tom watched her try to stand, noticing how she handled the ship's artificial gravity with unusual ease despite her weakened state. When she looked at the medical equipment, her fingers moved over the controls with familiar precision, even though Tom knew this technology wasn't anything special. "The pod you were in," he said carefully. "It's like nothing I've ever seen. Where did you come from?" Rose stared at her reflection in a nearby screen, touching the shimmering markings on her skin. "I don't know, but this feels wrong somehow. Like wearing someone else's clothes." She turned to Tom. "Why did you save me?" "Because you needed help," Tom said simply. "Out here in deep space, that's all that matters." The computer spoke again. "Warning. Scanning vessels now within medium range. Energy signatures suggest military-grade weapon systems." Rose's markings pulsed with sudden fear, turning a deep red. "They're looking for me," she whispered. "I don't know who they are, but I know I can't let them find me." Tom made a quick decision. "Computer, power down all non-essential systems. Minimal life support only. Make us look like a dead ship." He turned to Rose. "We'll hide among the debris field. Unless they get very close, their scanner should pass right over us." As the lights dimmed and the ship grew quiet, Rose moved to the window. Her reflection overlapped with the stars, the markings on her skin now twinkling like distant constellations. "I'm putting you in danger," she said softly. "I put myself in danger when I decided to help," Tom replied, checking the scanner readings. "And I don't regret it." They watched in tense silence as the massive ships moved through space like dark shadows crossing the stars. Rose's markings had shifted to a deep blue, pulsing in time with her breathing. Tom noticed how she seemed to understand everything about his ship despite claiming amnesia, the way her eyes tracked the enemy vessel's movements with tactical precision. When the ships finally moved out of range, Rose turned to Tom. "There's so much I can't remember, but I know one thing. Those ships won't stop looking. And when they find us..." She left the sentence unfinished. Tom smiled. "Then we'll just have to make sure they don't find us. I know every hidden route and secret spot in this sector. If you trust me, I can keep you safe." Rose looked at him for a long moment, her color-changing eyes seeming to see right through him. "I don't know why," she said finally, "but I do trust you. I hope you don't end up regretting that offer." Neither of them knew it yet, but that simple exchange would soon change the fate of 2 civilizations forever. The old mining tunnel stretched through the asteroid field like a giant stone maze. Tom's salvage ship slipped between 2 massive rocks, its engines barely making a whisper. He turned off everything except basic life support and navigation to avoid detection. "They're still following," Rose said, watching the rear sensors. Her skin markings had turned a deep orange of concern. A week had passed since she'd awakened, and though her memories remained clouded, Her natural abilities had grown stronger. She could now read the ship's complex sensor data as easily as Tom read basic text. The computer's voice came as a quiet whisper, also turned down to avoid detection. Warning: 3 pursuit vessels now entering the asteroid field. Their energy signatures suggest advanced scanning capabilities. Tom smiled grimly. They may have better scanners, but I bet they don't know about the old emergency shelter tunnels. He guided the ship toward what looked like a solid wall of rock. The miners used to hide from pirates in these passages. Rose's eyes widened as they approached the rock face. "Are you sure about this?" Instead of answering, Tom pressed a series of buttons. A hidden entrance appeared in the stone wall, barely wide enough for their ship. They slipped inside just as their pursuers' searchlights swept past. The tunnel was dark and narrow, filled with old mining equipment. Tom navigated through the tight space, using only the dim light from Rose's skin markings, which now glowed a soft blue in the darkness. "You've done this before," Rose said. It wasn't a question. Tom nodded. "When you spend enough time out here, you learn all the hiding spots." He paused, glancing at her. "Want to tell me why those ships want you so badly?" Rose touched her temple, wincing. "I keep getting flashes. I was running from something important. A ceremony, maybe. There were people in formal clothes, lots of rules and traditions." She shook her head. "But it feels like trying to remember a dream." A loud boom echoed through the tunnel, making them both jump. "They're using sonic charges," Tom said, his hand steady on the controls. "Trying to flush us out." Another explosion rocked the passage, closer this time. Pieces of rock clattered against the ship's hull. Rose's markings flashed bright red with alarm, illuminating the whole cockpit. "Tom," she said suddenly, "I remember something. These ships, they're not trying to kill me. They want to take me back." "Back where?" Before she could answer, a massive explosion shook the entire tunnel. The ceiling began to cave in ahead of them. "Hold on," Tom shouted. He fired the emergency thrusters, sending them shooting sideways into another tunnel just as the passage collapsed behind them. The ship scraped against the walls, sending sparks flying, but Tom's piloting kept them intact. They emerged into a huge cavern filled with crystalline formations. The crystals reflected Rose's glowing markings, creating a spectacular light show that dazzled their pursuers' sensors. "Computer, release the mining chaff," Tom ordered. The ship spat out clouds of metallic dust, an old trick used by miners to hide from pirates. Combined with the crystal reflections, it created a sensor nightmare for their hunters. Rose watched the pursuit ship's confused movements with growing confidence. "They can't track us through this," she said. "But," she turned to Tom, her eyes troubled. "You're using up all your emergency supplies for me. Why?" Tom kept his eyes on the controls, guiding them toward a hidden exit he knew. "Because sometimes doing the right thing means risking everything." He glanced at her. "And something tells me helping you is the right thing to do." Rose's markings shifted to a color Tom hadn't seen before, a warm gold that seemed to glow from within. "Thank you," she said softly. "I just hope." She stopped as another memory flickered across her face. "I hope when you learn the truth about me, you'll still think helping was the right choice." As they slipped away into the darkness of space, Tom wondered what truth could be so important that entire fleets would hunt them across the stars to keep it hidden. But looking at Rose's worried face, he knew he'd made his choice. Whatever the truth was, he would face it with her. The memory hit Rose like a lightning bolt. She was standing in Tom's small kitchen area, helping him prepare their simple dinner, when a dropped cup triggered everything. As the cup fell, time seemed to slow down. Her body moved with impossible grace, catching it before it could shatter. Tom stared at her. No human could move that fast. "Rose," he asked carefully, "what just happened?" But Rose wasn't listening. Her markings had turned a brilliant white, and her eyes were distant. Images flooded her mind. A crystal palace floating in space, thousands of people with markings like hers, a crown being placed on her head, and a name, her real name. "Aurora," she whispered. "I am Princess Aurora of the stellar Concordat." Her markings pulsed with each word, creating patterns Tom had never seen before. The ship's computer suddenly came alive. "Warning. Full neural pattern match confirmed. Identity verified. Crown Princess Aurora of the stellar Concordat. Protocol requires immediate." "Override protocols," Tom said quickly, not taking his eyes off Rose. "Or Aurora. Are you okay?" She steadied herself against the wall, her markings swirling with confused colors. "The Concordat. We've been watching humanity for centuries. Learning. Growing. Waiting for the right time to make contact." She looked at her hands, watching the light dance under her skin. "I'm supposed to be getting married. A political marriage to prevent a war between star kingdoms." Tom sat down slowly, trying to process this information. "That's why those ships are hunting you. Because you ran away from a wedding." Aurora nodded, her markings turning a deep purple of sadness. "The marriage would have stopped one war, but started another. My intended. He's cruel. He wants to use the Concordat's power to conquer other worlds, including Earth." The computer interrupted again. Multiple ships detected entering the sector. Energy signatures matched Concordat Royal Fleet. Tom moved to the pilot's seat, checking their options. "How did they find us?" "My memories returning must have strengthened my neural signature," Aurora said. "They can track me now." "I'm sorry, Tom. I've put you in terrible danger." But Tom was focused on something else she'd said. "You mentioned Earth. Your people were watching us. Why?" Aurora's markings shifted to a gentle green as she smiled. "Because you're remarkable. Humans are so young compared to us, but you feel so deeply. You take risks to help strangers. You trust your hearts as much as your minds." She touched his hand. "Like you helped me without knowing who or what I was." The computer spoke again, more urgently. "Royal Fleet approaching. They are preparing to fire warning shots." Aurora straightened, and suddenly Tom could see the princess in her. Her markings formed complex patterns he now realized were royal symbols. "There's a place," she said. "A sanctuary hidden in the heart of a stellar storm. If I can reach it, I can prevent both wars. But," she looked at Tom, "it's a one-way trip, and they'll punish anyone who helped me." Tom checked his displays. The Royal Fleet was closing in fast, their weapons charged. He had a choice to make: turn her in and be rewarded, or risk everything to help her one last time. "This sanctuary," he said, already plotting courses in his head. "I'm guessing it's somewhere no sane pilot would go." Aurora's markings flickered with surprise. "You'd still help me, even knowing what I am, what it could cost you." Tom smiled, powering up his engines. "When I found you in that pod, I didn't help a princess. I helped someone who needed it. That hasn't changed." He turned to her. "Besides, stopping a war that could hurt Earth. That makes it worth any risk." Aurora's markings glowed with a warm golden light he'd seen only once before. As the Royal Fleet surrounded them, Tom Walker, a simple salvage operator, prepared to outfly the most advanced ships in the galaxy to help a princess save two civilizations from war. And somehow, looking at the determination in Aurora's eyes, he knew they had a chance. The Royal Fleet's message played again through the ship's speakers. "Salvage vessel second chance. This is Admiral White of the Concordat. Surrender Princess Aurora, and you will be rewarded beyond your wildest dreams. Resist, and you will face charges of royal kidnapping." Tom looked at the display showing the reward amount. It was more money than he'd see in 10 lifetimes. Enough to buy a fleet of salvage ships. Enough to never work again. Aurora stood behind him, her markings a swirl of worried colors. "You should take the deal," she said softly. "They'll spare you if you turn me in now." "And what happens to you?" Tom asked, still studying the fleet's positions around them. "I'll be taken back, married to Lord Black. The war with his kingdom will be avoided." Her markings turned a deep blue of sadness. But he'll use the Concordat's power to start a bigger war. Millions will die, including many on Earth. The computer interrupted with new information. Second Fleet detected approaching from Sector 7. Energy signatures match Lord Black's personal armada. Tom's hands tightened on the controls. Now they had two fleets to worry about. Tell me about this sanctuary again. Aurora's markings brightened slightly with hope. It's hidden in the Lightning Nebula. The storms there disable most ship systems, but inside is a secret Concordat outpost. From there, I can reveal Lord Black's true plans to the Council. Stop both wars before they start. The Lightning Nebula. Tom whistled. They say no ship can survive those storms. My escape pod could have made it. Aurora touched the console gently. It was specially designed for the journey. But now we have my salvage ship, Tom finished. He pulled up the ship's specifications, mind racing. Computer, what are our chances of surviving the Lightning Nebula's storms? Calculating. Chance of survival, 12.3%. Not recommended. Another message from the Royal Fleet boomed through the ship. This is your final warning. Surrender or be destroyed. Tom looked at the reward offer again. Then he looked at Aurora, remembering how she trusted him when she had nothing but fear and lost memories. How she'd shown him glimpses of a bigger universe. How she was willing to risk everything to save both their peoples. Computer, he said finally, transfer all power to engines and shields. Plot a course for the Lightning Nebula. Aurora's markings flashed with alarm. Tom, no. The odds of survival are better than the odds of me living with myself if I turn you in. He gave her a quick smile. Besides, humans are pretty good at beating impossible odds. The computer spoke again. Warning. Both fleets powering weapons. They will fire in 30 seconds. Tom's fingers flew over the controls, making last-minute adjustments. Aurora, I need you to do something for me. That neural link you have with computers, can you connect with my ship? She nodded, her markings beginning to glow brighter. Yes, but. Then do it. The ship's systems are too slow on their own. We'll need your speed to thread through their blockade. Aurora placed her hands on the console. Her markings pulsed with light that seemed to flow into the ship's circuits. The displays flickered and came alive with new energy. 10 seconds to weapons fire, the computer announced. Tom looked at Aurora one last time, ready to show these fancy fleets what a salvage ship can do. Her markings shifted to a determined gold, matching the look in her eyes. Ready. Computer, activate emergency protocol Walker 1. All power to engines. Tom grabbed the controls. Here's something they don't teach royalty. Sometimes the best way out. Aurora finished his sentence, her markings blazing. Is straight through. The second chance's engines roared to life as both fleets opened fire, and the greatest chase in human history began. Lightning flashed around the second chance as it pushed deeper into the nebula. Each bolt was bigger than the ship itself, crackling with colors Tom had never seen before. The ship's hull groaned under the strain. Hull integrity at 40%, the computer warned. Shield failure imminent. Aurora's hands were still connected to the ship's console, her markings glowing bright white as she helped guide them through the storm. The sanctuary's coordinates are locked in, she said, her voice strained. But the lightning is interfering with navigation. Behind them, only 3 ships from the Royal Fleet had dared to follow. The most advanced vessels in the Concordat. Lord Black's fleet had turned back, unwilling to risk the storms. A massive lightning bolt struck the ship's right side. Sparks showered from the ceiling as systems overloaded. Hull breach in cargo section, the computer announced. Emergency seals engaging. Shield strength critical. Tom's hands were steady on the controls despite the chaos around them. How much further to the sanctuary? 2 minutes at current speed, Aurora said. Then her markings flashed red with alarm. Tom, look. A wall of energy was forming ahead of them. A lightning storm unlike anything they'd seen yet. The computer's analysis scrolled across the screen. Warning. Storm intensity exceeds survivable parameters. Recommend immediate retreat. Tom checked their pursuers on the rear scanner. The 3 Concordat ships were still gaining, their advanced shields handling the storm better than his salvage ships' worn-out systems. "We'll never survive that storm," Aurora said, looking at the energy readings. "We have to turn back." But Tom had noticed something. "The royal ships are hurting us," he said. "They're not trying to catch us. They're pushing us away from the sanctuary." He pointed to a gap in their formation. "They're leaving that route open because they know it's suicide to go through the storm." Aurora's markings pulsed with understanding, which means the sanctuary must be on the other side. Another lightning strike rocked the ship. "Hull integrity at 20%, the computer warned. "Complete failure in 3 minutes." Tom made his decision. "Computer, divert all remaining power to the forward shields. Shut down everything else." "Tom, no." Aurora's markings flashed with fear. "Without rear shields, the lightning will tear the ship apart." "Listen to me," Tom said, turning to face her. "When we hit that storm, there will be a moment when their sensors can't track us. That's when you'll take the escape pod." Aurora stared at him. "What escape pod?" "This is a salvage ship." Tom smiled. "Check the cargo bay manifest. Look for entry modified mining emergency vehicle." Her markings swirled as she accessed the ship's data. "You modified a mining escape pod. When?" "While you were sleeping that first day. I always have a backup plan." He pointed to the storm ahead. "It's small, but it has advanced shields. Not as good as your original pod, but good enough to get one person through the storm." Understanding dawned on Aurora's face. "One person. You're not coming with me." "The pod's shields need power. The only way to give them enough is to transfer everything from the second chance." He met her eyes steadily. "Someone has to stay and pilot the ship as a decoy." "No." Her markings blazed with emotion. "I won't let you sacrifice yourself." Another strike rattled the ship. "Hull failing," the computer announced. 90 seconds to total breakdown." Tom grabbed Aurora's hands. "You have to live. You have to stop this war. Save Earth. Save everyone." He smiled again, softer this time. "Besides, humans are pretty good at surviving impossible situations. Maybe I'll see you again." Aurora's markings shifted to that special gold color that seemed reserved just for him. "Tom Walker," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You are the most remarkable being I have ever known." The massive storm loomed ahead, crackling with deadly energy. Tom took a deep breath and pushed the engines to full power. Time to show the universe what a human salvage operator can really do. They plunged into the heart of the storm, lightning blazing all around them, as Tom prepared to make his final stand. 3 months after the storm, the great hall of the stellar Concordat was packed with beings from 100 worlds. Their collective markings created waves of light that rippled across the crystal walls. At the center of it all stood Princess Aurora, her own markings shining with royal authority. "The evidence against Lord Black is clear," she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "His plans for conquest, his secret weapons programs, all of it has been verified by the Council." The crowd murmured, their markings flickering with different emotions. Lord Black had already fled to exile, his conspirators arrested. But Aurora wasn't finished. "But today, we're here for something more important." She gestured to a large screen behind her. "Today, we officially welcome humanity into the Concordat." The screen lit up with images of Earth, but these weren't the usual observation records. These were stories of humans helping each other, of small kindnesses and great sacrifices. And at the end, the story of a simple salvage operator who risked everything to help a stranger. "One human showed us the true strength of Earth," Aurora continued. "Not their technology, not their weapons, but their heart. Their willingness to help others, even at great personal cost." Her markings dimmed slightly with sadness. After the storm, the royal fleet had found no trace of Tom's ship. The second chance had disappeared into the lightning, taking its brave pilot with it. And so, Aurora raised her voice, as my first act as queen, I propose a new law. The old barriers between humans and the Concordat will end. Our peoples will work together, learn together, and grow together. A figure stepped forward from the crowd. He wore simple clothes that stood out among the elaborate royal fashions. His skin had no markings, but his eyes held a familiar spark of determination. Would our first human ambassador like to say a few words? Aurora asked, her markings glowing with that special gold color she had shown only once before. Tom Walker smiled as he walked to the center of the hall. He looked different. Some scars from the lightning storm, a slight limp, but very much alive. I'm not much for fancy speeches, he said, but I know something about taking chances on strangers. Sometimes, those chances pay off in ways you never expected. The crowd's markings pulsed with approval. They had all heard the story, how Tom had survived the storm by diving his failing ship into a pocket of calm space, how the sanctuary's rescue teams had found him barely alive in the wreckage, how Aurora had refused to take the throne until he was found. The universe is full of differences, Tom continued. Different species, different cultures, different ways of seeing things. But underneath, we all share something simple, the ability to care about each other, to help each other, to risk everything for what's right. Aurora stepped forward to stand beside him. The old laws said a queen couldn't marry a human, she said, her markings swirling with joy. The new laws say love knows no boundaries. Tom took her hand, and their next words were drowned out by the cheers of the crowd. The hall blazed with celebratory lights from thousands of markings, and even the stern members of the council found their own markings glowing with approval. Later, in a quiet moment away from the celebration, Aurora found Tom looking out at the stars. Having second thoughts about being an ambassador, she asked. Nah, he smiled. Just thinking about how this all started. A broken escape pod, a mysterious woman, and a choice to help. Aurora's markings shimmered with happiness. And would you make the same choice again? Tom pulled her close, watching her markings glow with that special gold color that now meant love in the Concordat's language. Every time, he said, some things are worth risking everything for. Above them, Earth shone like a jewel among the stars, no longer just a watched world, but a full partner in the galaxy. And in the great hall of the Concordat, humans and aliens alike celebrated not just a political alliance, but the simple truth that had brought them together, that in the end, compassion was the greatest power in the universe.